So this case, it was in the media today because obviously her parents have spoke out saying how chilling CCTV footage snared a semi-pro footballer after he murdered a woman in the UK. This case is heartbreaking. Now the murderer is a son of 2 police officers. Talk about this man, and we are talking about the murder of someone who called him a friend. And that is this was a girl he murdered. This case came out today, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the article, but then I'm going to tell you the trunk on it. Then I'm going to tell you actually about the case because I've gone and had a look into actually the background of the case and everything, which I think is a better way to tell a victim's story than just from an article. So this case is kind of well known because this is some of the CCTV footage. So this is the CCTV footage of the killer leaving the flat of someone who believed he was her friend after he killed her. There's also famous footage of this footage as he leaves and his hands are covered in her blood. So we know that Megan Newton was sexually assaulted and killed by Joseph Trevor. Give my dad back his name. Trevor, the 19-year-old son of 2 police officers, had brutally raped and butchered his old school friend Megan Newton, leaving her naked on the bed before casually leaving. And you see him casually leaving, and then outside the house just kind of checking his hands for the blood. We know that the forensic psychologist who was in the courtroom said like it was chilling how calm he was. And there's callousness in him, just like walking out and just being like unbothered by it. But I'm going to literally deep dive the case for you a little bit now and just tell you a little bit about what happened to Megan and what the situation was. She was 18 years of age. She was absolutely beautiful, had the rest of her life ahead of her. And again, some man who believes he has the right to take from you. She trusted him, and it was an opportunistic murder of a beautiful young girl who deserves to still be here by someone who just... I'm surprised that a son of a police officer, 2 police officers, thought he was going to get away with this. How can you have 2 police officer parent and be that forensically unaware that you don't even look up at the camera as you leave her flat and leave her body? That outside of her flat in the doorbell camera, you literally stand there and look at the blood on your hands. So in 2019, Megan Newton was an 18-year-old woman living in Stoke-on-Trent. Aside from being an avid football player, which she was really good at, she also coached young children playing football. She had been working towards achieving her level 1 coaching badge for football. And we know that Megan had done many a fundraiser to raise money for the schools in her area and the clubs to have football kits. So she had done a lot of this. She had raised money for young girl football players to have training time. She had paid for their football kits to do fundraisers. She was absolutely brilliant, and she was well known on the field. Really good football player. And I love the fact that she was trying to kind of pave the way for young girls in her area to play football. After college, Megan had plans to become the first person in her family to attend university, with dreams of becoming a physiotherapist or sports therapist, but she never got the chance. Just after 11 p.m. on the evening of the 19th of April 2019, Megan Newton left her apartment for an evening with friends, and she soon arrived at the Newcastle Kiln nightclub. Megan and her friends partied and had drinks, and she was seen most of the night dancing, just laughing, having a good time. At some point, by chance, a boy she knew from school, 19-year-old Joseph Trevor, would also turn up at the same nightclub. And this was just absolutely... thank you so much, Lily. It was absolutely just opportunistic. Like, she didn't arrange to meet him. She didn't know he was going to be there. And he set sights on her, and he decided that he was going to have sex with her. And he was decided that was what it was going to be. And I'm so fed up of fucking men in society acting like this. And she knew him. She knew him from school. She had known him for quite some time. She probably would have felt quite comfortable around him. Now, we know that he grew up in Trentham in the affluent area of Stoke-on-Trent. He was raised by good parents who were both police officers. And he'd first encountered Megan at Tretham High School, where they were both students. Now, they barely spoke to each other at school. They weren't in the same friendship group or anything. He was in the year above her, and she knew him from school. During his high school years, Joseph was known as an oddball till the age of 15. He'd been publicly arrested already at the age of 15 for orally molesting a girl of 14. Now, this is when I think it crosses over into being a family responsibility. When you knew your son already had orally molested a girl at school who was 14 when he was 15, there has to be things put in place. There has to be things done. Now, I actually believe that he was never prosecuted for this because of who his parents were. Now, at school, they began to call him, he was known as the pedo. And he was also branded the name Rolf Harris, because at that time Rolf Harris had just been found out to be a child molester. And so they were calling him all kinds of names. And everyone at school knew to kind of stay away from him. Now, at the same time, he was a semi-pro football player. And yeah, exactly. And his parents were both police officers. So what he had done at this point was pretty much brushed under the carpet. Now, at the time of running into Megan at the nightclub, Joseph was a talented semi-pro football player playing for Newcastle Town, and had even earned a scholarship to go and study in America. So he had a lot going for him, really, if he'd wanted it. He had a very bright future ahead of him, despite the fact that he had molested someone already. Thank you, Avril. But he would soon make a decision that would seal his fate. Prior to entering the Kill nightclub, Joseph had consumed both ketamine and cocaine and was spotted with a bag of white powder at another club by door staff. Police had been called and Joseph was taken to the station. Again, he was released without any charge due to the fact his parents were police officers. So he was arrested with a bag of cocaine and then just released the same night, within an hour, back into the streets, which to me is fucked. If he had been arrested and kept up in the cells, she would still be alive. But what we do is, when we have children, especially young people, so he was 19, like he's a late teenager, when every time he commits acts of criminality and there is no consequence, he is getting braver and braver and braver. Thank you, Pammy. And you heard what someone said a minute ago. That's why he thought he could get away with murder. And that's exactly right. He molested someone, a 14-year-old, got away with it. He gets arrested in a nightclub with drugs. He then gets let out within an hour. For most of us, me, you, anyone else in here, if we got caught with a bag of cocaine in a nightclub, we'd be kept in the cells Saturday night, kept in the cells Sunday night, go to court on Monday, where we would be bailed to come back and face charges for drugs. That's what would happen to most of us. We'd be kept in the cells. They would take the drugs off us. They would have someone check on us because of the high amount of drugs we'd taken. They would be checking all night and that would be it. There's no way this would happen unless his mum and dad were police officers. So he's released without charge, and then he just went straight back into town, because why wouldn't he? There he ran into Megan at the Kill nightclub. Joseph struck up a conversation and he said to her, like, I've just been nicked for drugs and that, and I've got to go home now and face my parents. And so Megan said, you can come and stay at mine on the sofa if you want. Because he kept saying, like, I've got to go home, I'm going to have to speak to my parents, I'm off my head as it is, and I'm going to have to, like, they're going to confront me. And so she said, look, you can have my sofa if you want, because I've got my apartment and I don't mind you staying. Because she just didn't want him to go home and get in loads of trouble with his parents. Obviously, she was his age, like, obviously she was probably thinking that they were friends. So he accepted, and CCTV shows them arriving in a taxi outside of her home. So you've got her here and him there getting out of a taxi. Over an hour later, the pair were next captured on CCTV inside of the communal block. So we know they get into the taxi, and then an hour later, there's thank you, Liza. Then they're seen inside the communal part, about to enter through her flat door here. This whole thing was caught on CCTV, by the way. My foot slipped then, like an old lady. As Megan fumbled to open her front door, Joseph could be seen nervously looking round, as if to make sure, is anyone watching? And once inside, Megan was at the mercy of her old school friend, locked behind doors in her flat with a man who had become a monster. It's believed in the court that Joseph attempted to make a sexual advantage towards her, and she said no. At that point, he subjected her to a brutal rape before strangling her unconscious. He then made the action to go into the kitchen and return with a knife, where he would stab her in the back 9 times. It just, at any point, none of this had to happen. First of all, to this young girl has said, like, if you don't want to go home and confront your parents are going to be mad tonight, come and sleep on my sofa. Tomorrow you're going to feel better. Tomorrow they would have calmed down. She's done this thinking she could trust him. He's then come into her home, tried it on with her. She said, no, thank you. So then he's absolutely brutally raped her, strangled her unconscious, not just left then though, not just thought, oh my God, I'm going to go. Then thought, I'll go into the kitchen, get a knife and stab her 9 times in the back. And then at 5:53, just lets himself out of her apartment and leaves. Just calmly, just fine, just leaves. Not before checking outside the front door to look down at all the blood all over his hands from what he's done to somebody else's baby, someone's daughter. We know that he tries to leave the flat and he can't leave the communal door because he needs a key fob. So he goes back to Megan's apartment, steals her keys, gets out of the place, and then he throws the bloody keys on the floor. And the boy is such an idiot. He's even caught fucking throwing the keys. He's caught outside. Her whole apartment has got cameras. And one of the reasons that her parents chose this place for her, because she wanted independence, was because they knew that inside had cameras, outside have cameras. They knew that she was a really good kid. She was someone who was doing really well, about to be the first family member to go to university. They had a lot of faith in her. Unfortunately, we can't always protect our children from other people's intentions. We know that after he left her house, he went to the downtown. He went down the street at a brisk pace. He's staring at his hands, looking at the blood. And then he goes to a bridge overlooking a motorway where he sits down for a while. And it's thought during this time in the court case that he may be contemplating suicide. Officers are then called to the scene by concerned onlookers because his legs are dangling off of the bridge, and so he's taken to the Heartlands Hospital, where he's collected by his father, the police officer, and taken home. Later that day, neighbours find the body. Well, first of all, they find Megan's bloody key outside, and then they go into her apartment. They recognise the key ring, one of her friends, on the keys outside. They see the blood. They're like, oh my God, we need to go inside. And upon entering, they find her nude body in a pool of blood on her bed. When news broke of the discovery of Megan's body, Joseph confessed to his police officer parents, I may have done something bad. And when officers review the CCTV footage, it becomes clear that Trevor was Megan's killer. That's Joseph Trevor, so I should say. Joseph Trevor was his killer. He was arrested at his parents' home. And for anyone that's just come in, this is him here. And during an interrogation with officers, he claimed that him and Megan had consensual sex, and then his memory had gone blank. He just blacked out. Couldn't remember any of it. Doesn't know if it was his fault. Doesn't know if someone else was there. He just can't remember. He's all blank. What a fucking wet wipe. But isn't it always the way? My mind just went blank. I literally, my mind went blank. I can't remember what happened. Like, I just don't know. He just couldn't remember what he'd done to her. Couldn't remember. Nope. When Joseph's trial commenced in February 2020, he pled guilty to rape and murder because he did not want to sit through a trial and he did not want evidence to be shown. He was sentenced to a minimum of 21 years and he has been placed on the sex offenders register indefinitely. What I want to know though is why he wasn't already on the sex offenders register. He had already molested a girl of 14 and got away with that. He got caught with drugs on him. He got away with that. What else don't we know? What else had he done that his parents had covered for him? Why wasn't he already on the sex offenders register? Unfortunately, the real possibility is that with behaviour, he will be released before he turns 40. He'll be back on the streets. Megan's mother, Sarah, was disgusted when Joseph Trevor insincerely walked past her family in the trial and said, sorry. Doesn't really cut it, does it? I fully believe if his parents weren't police officers, he would already have been behind bars when this happened. How was he allowed back out that night to commit this murder?